Good evening, YouTube. You guys are now watching another segment of the TheCaliEffect. I'm here with DFishFan, and we have announced our brackets. The brackets are coming. The brackets are coming, and they are here. We have all 32 decks. Some didn't make the cut, and I apologize. If you want a detailed explanation on all of the decks without having to hear us talk for about 9 or 10 or however long this video is, you can look in the link below. I mean, hey, not everybody wants to hear us talk. They just want to hear us play, and I respect that. As long as you guys don't start disliking, oh, the TheCaliEffect and DFishFan talk too much, whatever. We trying to make this a sport. Yu-Gi-Oh's a real sport. But DFishFan will be naming off the brackets.
All right, so for the first bracket, we have Jinzo as the top seed. They'll be facing off against the Life Point Gaming, or LP deck, as we like to call
Kendrick Lamar.
So facing the winner of them will be the winner between Ojama and Iron Chains. Ice Barriers and Knights are also in this bracket, and rounding it off would be Roids, which is like a Stealth Roid, Drill Roid, shit like that, Scrub Roids, and Dark Magician. So that will be the first bracket. Moving on to the second, we have the Crystal Beast versus Gate Guardian.
Gate Guardian.
Damn. VWXYZ versus Amazonas, so the original Xseed deck. Morphtronics versus Toons, which I think should be an interesting matchup. And then finishing off the second bracket will be Venom versus the Familiar deck. Moving on to the third, we have DD, which is another top seed, against the Insect deck, which is pure insects.
And just so you guys know, DD is different dimension, the different dimensional deck.
Right, exactly. So pretty much focusing and utilizing banished cards. Neospatians versus Butter Spies are in this bracket as well. The ultimate rivalry matchup in the first round, the Destiny Heroes versus the Scrub Elemental Heroes.
Wow.
Which should be a great game. Volcanics versus Calculators will end off the third bracket. And into the final bracket, we have Naturia, the top seed, against the Coin Flip deck. Genix versus Red Eyes. Dark Scorpions versus Arcana Force. And rounding off the tournament will be Geminis versus Yumi deck, which is, of course, the field spell.
The coin flip deck.
The coin flip
deck. Like, I really like how you announced it, but the coin flip deck. Oh my god. All right, the only deck that we couldn't fit in here because it's scrubbier than all of these decks is Utopia. But let's go off and name some of the more interesting matchups. I really got to take a look at this first seed versus the 32nd seed, Jinzo versus LP. While I don't think there's a lot of interest in the match itself, it's the first seed versus the 32nd seed. Jinzo's are rightfully one of the first seed. It is one of our top pick decks to win. While LP, like, we didn't really know what the fuck it was, so we just kind of stashed it at 32nd seed. So be on the lookout for that 32nd seed. It's a sleeper low-key, especially since I'm still in the builds of making it. No hope. Wow.
I'm sorry. Jinzo brings too much to the table in this tournament. Like, being able to negate back rows in the Scrublyimpics is going to be a huge factor. And never mind the fact that it's a 24 beater, which is pretty damn strong.
That's amazing in this format.
Strong.
Like, I think everything else in this format that's over 2400 requires 2 sacrifices. Remember how they say sacrifices? It requires 2 sacrifices. Another matchup which I thought would be very interesting is the Ice Barrier versus the Knights. And by the Knights, I mean Jack's Knight, King's Knight, Queen's Knight, Joker, all that other crap. Now, the biggest reason is not the Knights in themselves, it's Ice Barrier. I picked them to get very high in the tournament, if not win it all. And mainly, I think the biggest play that they have is title. They have a lot of plays, and depending on what they do in this game, or what we see from this game, can ultimately determine how well they do throughout the tournament.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Ice Barriers, they do have a little bit, very little quality cards with the Searcher and the Situational Trunade. But they do have title, and any deck that's able to splash in Dragon Rulers in this Scrublyimpics is probably going to bring something to the table that's very strong. So
he gays. I need title to play in my Ace Barriers. I need title for my Ace Barriers.
I do think this is going to be a pretty contested matchup, though, between the Ice Barrier and the Knights, and should be an interesting game.
I don't think so. I think it's like the Broncos playing the Raiders. Like, you just want to see how good Peyton Manning is off of neck surgery. Like, the opponent really doesn't matter. You just want to see how good Peyton Manning is off of neck surgery. Like, you're only cared about your team. You don't care about the matchup. You want to just see them play.
Ice Barriers.
That's the only thing I disagree on. But I think Ice Barriers will come out the gate and have a strong showing, a very consistent showing. And if they do, I pick them to get top 2 in this tournament against Notorious.
Damn, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
That was what I picked in the beginning. Do you have any others you want to point out?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, this whole tournament is going to be filled with pretty great matchups, honestly. Pretty shitty great matchups. But Morptronics and Toons are going to be facing off in the first round, and I think that's going to be pretty interesting. Yes, because
I can't think of any good Toons.
They can all attack directly. That's all that matters. And they're all special summons.
They take a turn to attack. And
yeah, not Dark Magician, girl.
I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think this is going to be a pretty big upset alert for the Toons.
So number 25 Toon or 28 Toons are going to be number 5 Morptronics. The same Morptronics that can go on a Power Tool Dragon and make their Power Tool X amount attack with all these equipped spell cards, and Toons can't do a damn thing about it.
I think that's going to be a good matchup.
Interesting. Please tell me more.
All right, and another one is going to be the rivalry match that I alluded to earlier with the Destiny Heroes facing the Elemental Heroes. And I think this is going to be an amazing matchup. Like, I think we've all wanted to see how bad these decks really can get.
Wow, the struggle. Keep in mind that this is every Elemental Hero deck, and that's why it's seeded so lowly. Like, he has to use he's using practically every elemental card, or all the bad ones at least.
This is like Jaden in the tournament without the sackiness.
Yeah, and then this is fucking D Heroes at its prime. This is all of the good D Heroes, disregarding Destiny and Dragoon deck. But this is all of the good D Heroes put together in a Clock Tower deck that, I don't know. I mean, if it does start to work, this deck could be a threat. It could be the Warrior deck threat of this tournament.
I agree. Clock Tower Prison is such an underrated card in this tournament. I think it has the potential to be maybe the MVP if D Heroes get pretty far.
Yeah, I would definitely think Clock Tower Prison would be the MVP if D Heroes get anywhere out of that bracket whatsoever. If they get to the 3rd round, Clock Tower Prison is already a candidate at least, because that card will probably be too strong. You don't think so? If they got to, if they got to the 3 to the 3rd spot to round 3, fuck yeah, come on.
The elite. Let me see what's first. If everyone advances, they make it to the Sweet 16. Then we have the Elite 8 and the Final 4. I think if D Heroes make it to the Final 4, it's gonna be mainly on the back of Clock Tower Prison.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's gonna be MVP. Another amazing matchup that I wanted to point out. It's not really the matchups. It's how you want to see these decks fare, because some of these decks are kind of like they're borderline, and if they do thrive, even if against their weaker opponents, you can really see some potential or sort of some grind game or some build up between these decks. A couple of the decks that I want to point out, or one match I want to point out, is the Volcanic versus the Calculator. Both of these decks show a lot of potential. They show the ability to destroy. They have a lot of support. Well, not really a lot of support. They just have a lot of cards that go work well with them. A lot of synergy with the cards that they do. They can produce a lot of big plays. And I ultimately think that once one of these decks get going, they have the potential to make the Sweet 16, if not the Elite 8.
Yeah, I can see that. Volcanic was one of the higher seeds in this tournament. And for good reason. They have a pretty decent support for the Scrublyimpics.
They have anti-meta type support. That's so scary.
Definitely, and the Calculator, they're high-level monsters with a Calculator level 2 beater, which
you run
turns...
Montage Dragon? I'm sorry to throw you off, but...
For a Calculator?
Yeah.
No.
You scrub. Montage Dragon is the best card. What were you saying?
But, I mean, it's going to surprise some people, I think, in that match.
I think a lot of these matches are going to surprise these people. And keep in mind that these decks are seeded according to their playability, for the exception, I guess, of Dark Scorpions. Wait, never mind. Dark Scorpions were pretty good when we tested them out. For the exception of no, there is no exception.
Oh.
These cards, these decks were seeded pretty nicely on their potential to win in this format. And anytime you see a higher number like Notoria versus a lower number coin flip, if example coin flip were to win, it's devastating.
Yeah.
It destroys what we ever thought planned out in this deck or in this tournament. But I think that's just a lot of good decks that are very, very surprising. Venom is one of them. Neospatian can be an upset. Dark Scorpions, they're 6 for a reason. I'm telling you guys that.
Yeah.
You guys are looking at it like they're trash. No. Dark Scorpions are 6 for a reason. Geminis, even Yumi, which is just an overall, like, it's one of those subtle decks. That's why it's 22nd. It's one of those subtle decks. I think that this tournament is something to watch and enjoy over the next couple of weeks or months or however long it takes for this tournament. It is definitely worth the wait.
I agree completely. It's gonna be amazing.
You can go ahead and close if you want to. I always wanted to hear you close.
Oh, yes, of course. So thanks for watching, you guys. This has been Deepfish Fan and TheCaliEffect. And be on the lookout for all these scrubtastic duels coming up in the future. And we'll see you later.
I like that one. I like that.